Iron sharpens iron, why we don't have action movies anymore. Kylie Jenner is listed by Forbes magazine as a self-made billionaire. Do you need any more evidence that Hollywood award shows don't matter? Well, I've got it. And as a Patreon exclusive, gender confusion. Hey, I've got a lot to complain about, so let's do this.
The recently canceled podcast with Von Fry.
Hey, how goes it? And welcome to the recently canceled podcast, episode 19. I think it is last episode I said I was going to stop listing the name of the episode, giving a number. Can't really think of anything else to do with it, so it's getting a damn number. Well, I was watching this movie from 1985 called Rocky IV. It made $300 million at the box office, and that means that it was the top musical of the 1980s. Because this movie has arguably 5 to 6 song moments in it, musical montages included. And that's if we're looking at Eye of the Tiger at the start also. It's an alright movie. But I was thinking about how the Rocky franchise comes to be. And if you look at it in a certain way, you say, look, Stallone is out to prove himself as the top action guy, the specimen. At the same time, Arnold Schwarzenegger's out there. And he's largely showing up Stallone in both physique and box office performance when it comes to manly men movies. Stallone has a much bigger catalog. He struggled more early on. He didn't have a number of titles saying that he's the greatest bodybuilder in the world and here's some opportunities for you. No, Stallone had to sell his dog to some guy on the street to try to make ends meet, and then when Rocky becomes a big hit, he goes and buys his dog back for much more than he sold him for. But I'm thinking about this. You know, we have the Rambo films, right? The original book ends with Rambo dying, but he didn't die, and probably for the better, in First Blood. This opens the gateway for Stallone to make Rambo into this kind of counter to what his original figure was, where he was a character who was reluctant to be in the situation he's in. He's a war hero, but he's not patriotic. Only he gets misinterpreted as patriotic, as this Ubermensch, this one-man army. And at the same time, you have Commando going with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, because Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Commando, both similar one-man army setups, you know, for the layman's terms, that is. Different films, different ideas. But I have to think that if it wasn't for Arnold Schwarzenegger, we wouldn't have more Stallone action flicks. Rocky probably would have tapered off sooner. We might not have even gotten a third Rocky. And if we did, it probably would have stopped there. Because when you have an arms race, you have this one-upsmanship, you have the improving of the product. You have Stallone and Arnold going at this, trying to be the top guy, and both having a great deal of success along the way, because iron sharpens iron. When Mitsubishi announced that they were going to give up on cars, that they wanted to go the EV route, then they said, hey, we want to just do SUVs, so now they only sell SUVs in the United States. They got rid of the Lancer. You couldn't get the Lancer Evo. Well, the Lancer Evo was what spurned the production and the one-upsmanship in the category of the four-cylinder turbo four-wheel drive rally car from Japan, of which there was Subaru's WRX STI versus Lancer Evo. And there were fans on both sides, but when one of them goes down, the other side can't go and celebrate the victory. Yeah, we proved it. Subaru's better than Mitsubishi. Losers. It doesn't help Subaru to keep making cars. Subaru now says, oh, wow, demand has really plummeted in this segment. We have to rethink doing this. We're never going to improve the engine. We're going to use the same four-cylinder turbo since 2003. And that's what they've done. They have a 15-plus-year-old engine in their brand new 2018 Subaru WRX STI. And they haven't had any need to improve it because there hasn't been competition. Now, if we look at the modern box office and we see all of these superhero films, and we go, I miss when the action was more grounded in reality, maybe not realistic. Rocky IV, Rocky's taking on Ivan Drago, and there isn't a jab in a single fight. Like, you can't do boxing in movies like you do in reality, where they just fill each other out for 3 rounds, where there's a bunch of jabs and every once in a while there's a hook. No, it's hook, haymaker, uppercut, special combo. I mean, that's all they're doing. Totally unrealistic, but it's for show, right? Who is the big action star right now? Who in the action genre? Some people would say it's Dwayne Johnson. If Dwayne Johnson is, as reported, and I'm using the air quotes, the biggest action star in the world, in what way? If he's the highest paid actor in the world, a lot of this stuff's dubious. It just matters who put out the most movies that year. In a lot of cases, it got to be Adam Sandler would get this. Cameron Diaz would get the actress best paid. I think at one point it said the most overpaid was Will Ferrell, as far as how much he's paid compared to returns at the box office. And I think Adam Sandler had also gotten that dubious honor as well, and that shouldn't surprise you. However, Dwayne Johnson doesn't really make action movies. He cashes in on a persona that he's a tough guy, and he's always sending that up. He's always doing Stop or My Mom Will Shoot without having the Rambo to present that. And even when he gets something that looks like an action movie, it's a little more tongue-in-cheek. It's a little more derivative. It's a little more, oh, well, it's just a dumb popcorn flick and it's having some fun with itself. I'm talking about G.I. Joe entering into the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, if you want to say who's the number one action star as an action star, maybe you could say Jason Statham. A lot of his stuff goes straight to video. Now, there is a team up here where Statham and Rock are getting together for a Fast and Furious spinoff. I think they're calling it Calvin and Hobbes, named after their characters in Fast and Furious films. And it's going to get a little awkward when one of them has to wear a tiger costume, but it could be a hit. You know, there's some name potential there. Is the Fast and Furious fan base going to hop into this? You know, it's weird because those films started out with car culture, and the car culture's gone. I don't see anybody driving around with neon lights under their car or, I mean, hell, every once in a while you see some asshole with a big exhaust, some aftermarket rims on their little Civic. But that stuff's dying off. I'm not seeing a lot of that aftermarket tuning in the way that I was in the early 2000s. And now you have, let's just fuel the series with diversity. Let's try to get as few white guys in this as possible. Look at how diverse we are. We have girl power with diversity, blah, blah, diversity. We represent the people watching the movies. Okay. It's completely ludicrous scenario. We're going to throw in Marvel Cinematic Universe style action sequences, and maybe there will be a car race at the beginning. And that's the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, these characters aren't known for like their car skills, though. The ones that Statham and Johnson play. So, what kind of movie are we getting here? I think it's going to be a little ways off. Probably is it a couple of years. Is it going to be out before the next Fast film? Because they churn those out on a pretty consistent basis. Like, we're starting to get those at a more regular beat than Bond films, aren't we? And it's easier to do. I guess as long as most of the cast stays alive and they can pass the torch in some situation here, it's probably easier than finding a new James Bond, though, as has been shown, the public will accept a new James Bond at any given moment, so I don't see why Daniel Craig has to be paid so much. Oh, hey, this new guy's the James Bond. See ya. You'll get used to it. That's always the way it goes. Don't even try to argue with me on this. But, you know, if Johnson actually took action seriously, Skyscraper looks like a bad Die Hard clone with, I don't know, could we call it an inclusive amputee angle? A shitload of CGI, you know, the usual bells and whistles. It looks like that. I can't judge the movie as being bad or anything, as I reserve judgment for when I've actually viewed a completed film. I think that Dwayne's a little too late with this. He had Faster. That was a bit of a bomb. That's one of his only serious action films I can really think of here. I haven't seen The Rundown. It's on my queue on Hulu. I hear that's one of his best movies. But that's sort of the action comedy thing, maybe along the lines of maybe a Lethal Weapon 4 type tone, if I recall right from the trailers and such. But he never was the action star, so don't confuse him for an action star. He's also not on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. The Rock was not the biggest thing in the world until he got into the movies, until he hosted Saturday Night Live, until he got to be the star outside of the WWE who checks in on his home every once in a while, and finally The Rock has returned, blah, blah, whatever. Show up at WrestleMania every couple of years, something like that, right? If you want to look at the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, sidetrack here, I'm going to go with Undertaker for having the greatest character gimmick in sports entertainment. I'll go with Hogan. In-ring, very weak skills, a lot of the same repetitive stuff. There's a lot of grappling, a lot of getting knocked down, almost submitting, then hulking up, and then body slam. Really redundant skill set, but he was fun and energetic, and he certainly had the over with the fans. Nobody was ever bigger than Hulk Hogan in wrestling. Then I'm going to go Stone Cold Steve Austin, the originator of the Attitude Era. He brought wrestling back, helped WWF get over WCW. Well, also WCW self-destructed in some degree. But anyways, I'd also, I think the fourth face on the Mount Rushmore is a bit tricky. On one hand, you have Bret Hart, the best there is, ever will be, whatever was, something like that. Yeah, shit, I screwed that up. Great performer, but didn't quite have the charisma. He took it very seriously, which it's good to have a guy out there taking the matches seriously like it's a sport. But at the same time, you need the charisma to cut the promos, to sell the merch. It's a bigger thing than just being the worker. Somebody like HBK comes to mind, and then also John Cena for carrying on the WWE at a time when it was at a drought of talent, I would say. I mean, you look at the new faces now, I mean, gosh, it's pretty much unwatchable, right? But stuff I'm getting to here, because Dwayne Johnson is not the action guy that Jason Statham needed him to be for them to compete and better the action genre. Statham's trying to do it alone, and he's going straight to video more often than not. So, yeah, was that confusing enough? Let's talk about Kylie Jenner. Forbes puts out a list. It says Kylie Jenner is the youngest self-made billionaire. She's like 20. Well, this is a stretch, but they're saying she has a net worth of $900 million, which I believe is less than $1 billion. But what do I know? I'm from Kansas. Now, other dubious claims here. The self-made part. If your family has such a stranglehold over pop culture and the media and just being a tastemaker, they can make you the next big thing if they are so inclined. And that's what happened here. She sells something called a lip kit, which I'm guessing means lipstick and what do they line their lips with a brush or some shit. But then she got the filler taken out of her lips, so now you have this. It's almost like you're selling a bra because a girl with implants has it. And then you find out she has implants, so it's like, oh, that bra doesn't really do that for you. It's the implants. It's every piece of exercise equipment you see pitched late night on TV. Those models did not get those abs with the ab rocker. Well, you're not getting Kylie Jenner's lips with her lip kit, but that doesn't stop her from putting 5,000% up mark on it, or markup, selling it to you, and then she makes all this cash. And then some people are going, okay, so she isn't exactly self-made, but she worked hard. Where's the hard work? Where is that? Okay, I'm not angry with her the way I am Kim Kardashian for being like a complete waste of space, who has gotten here all in a sex tape with, what was that chick's name? That chick's name's Moesha. That was her show. Moesha's brother, okay? All of that started the Kardashian empire. And yes, Kylie was able to profit from this. She was able to make something. Kendall and her are at least showing some scruples and not totally whoring themselves out. Kendall looks like a legit supermodel and is at the moment the highest paid supermodel, exceeding Gisele Bündchen. But some people are saying, oh, Kylie Jenner stole black culture. Black people were all about the lip stuff before white people, and now they're stealing the culture, and I'm offended, and everybody should be offended. I'm offended. Every day, something is coming up, and then the next day or an hour later or whatever, black people get on about it being cultural appropriation. You work on yo ass, okay? Improve yourself instead of being this, oh, hey, so I'm a black lady with a verified checkmark on Twitter, and I'm a race studies professor, and I'm crying cultural appropriation. Stop with this shit and work on yourself. How does crying about this help anybody? We live in America. We're not supposed to be separated. Didn't you guys complain about that shit? The separate but equal? Oh, but the water fountain wasn't really up to par with the whites. Do you want to go back to that shit? What is that? No? Then shut up. Quit trying to convince people that we need to go back to that if you don't want to go back to it. And if you're on the mode of hypocrite, how do you get around traveling? Okay, black women studies race professors, do you fly? Did black people invent the plane? No, they didn't. Black people invent the car? Oh, well, you'll say you did, but you didn't. So maybe you can just walk to your next speaking engagement, right? Oh, wait, you're typing this up on an iPhone. Oh, yeah, invented by black people, right? Tell me about it. Yeah, we don't, black people, white people, Asian people, whatever, we don't invent stuff so that only people of our identity can use it. You know, it's so ridiculous. We got to work on bettering ourselves instead of arguing about these kind of things. And it hurts me to have to talk about it because it's just so stupid. But every day something will come up. And if you want to, you can have your own fun with it. You can find a way. We had the kid stuck in the cave in Thailand, right? Okay, so though he didn't get his sub there to help, if I recall correctly here, Elon Musk. Does if Elon Musk helps them, is that white culture coming to the rescue? It would have been better to let the kids die because now they're being appropriated. Blah, and I'm offended. All this bullshit, right? So Emmy nominations were announced recently, and there were a couple of points here I want to talk about. First of all, Sandra Oh, is it Sandra or Sandra Oh? The Asian chick from Grey's Anatomy. You see her on Arliss. You've seen her around. Very blank face. Yeah, that one. So she's nominated for Best Leading Actress of some kind in a something something. I didn't know she was presently working, but it's historic. It's historic because she's the first Asian woman to be nominated for a lead Emmy. It's historic, everybody. You know, this wrapping up history based on your ethnicity and your gender is so much bullshit. You know, I actually shot a video about this. I'm not showing it because no one gives a shit about my videos, but I'm just going to iterate the points here. You remember when Black Panther was a big thing? Yeah, that seems like ancient history now, doesn't it? Well, the Asians wanted to have their Black Panther, so there was this crap going over on Twitter about this movie Crazy Rich Asians, starring the mom from Fresh Off the Boat, and I'm sure some other Asians. And it was like, oh, Crazy Rich Asians could be our Black Panther. Well, I got a little bit of news for you, Asians. First of all, Hollywood doesn't care a whole lot about your background, really. They don't say, oh, look, there's all these Asians we need to get to go to the movies. They don't say that. So whenever something needs to come up and be urban, it needs to hit a certain demographic, it always goes black. Hey, we need some diversity. Let's get the black in here. Oh, yeah, maybe there could be an Asian. You're most likely going to find a black or Latino getting these, oh, look, we did something diverse. Pat us on the back. That's what you're getting. Now, this may be a theatrically released movie. It sure doesn't much look like it. It looks like your typical Adam Sandler fare. It looks like it has a barely decipherable plot. What is it? Rich Asians have an engagement party. It doesn't look particularly entertaining. It looks like your regular Adam Sandler decided to go on a vacation and they wrapped it up as a movie. That's Crazy Rich Asians for you. It's not a property tying into the Marvel Cinematic Universe based on a hero that's over 40 years old and has some kind of fan base. And if you're going to say, oh, hey, look, all you black kids went to go see Black Panther, well, let's make sure we get all of our Asian kids. We have our rich Asians have sell out the theater for the Asian kids so they can go and enjoy the movie theater and relate with their identity and blah, blah, whatever nonsense. Good luck doing that. Now, another even more pathetic thing I saw, you got this gal, Megan Amram. I hope I'm pronouncing that wrong. I've seen her awful face on Twitter, and I'm not doing this as a slam, but she's going out of her way to make an ugly, weird, crunched neck face on her profile pic. And every once in a while, some idiot will end up retweeting it, and I have to look at it. So she's a self-styled comedian of some kind. I don't know if she performs on stage. I probably doubt she does. All right, maybe she does an improv troupe thing. I don't know. Well, Evidently, she has a web series, and the web series is called An Emmy for Megan. So this is how self-absorbed Megan Amram is. She makes an Emmy for Megan web series with the whole intention of getting an Emmy. Like a very meta accomplished goal here. Even buys a billboard so she has the ad space with one of those lame campaigns for your consideration. An Emmy for Megan. And then the little quote in the corner talks about Megan wanting an Emmy. I deserve an Emmy. And you know what the Emmys did? They granted her wish. She's been nominated. Unlikely she'll win. But has the shit gotten this pathetic? The award shows are so desperate for attention that whoever's willing to give the attention like this, so you could have yourself your feel-good stories, your look how historic this is. Oh, look, isn't that cute? This girl really, really wants an Emmy. Well, we can do like a Make-A-Wish and give her a nomination. That's how shitty this stuff is. Does any of this have to do with skill? No. It's, hey, look how great we are. Look at the diversity. Look how awesome we are as the Emmys. We're making all these things happen for all these great, talented women. Let's call them great and talented because they're women. You think some white guy gets a billboard called, hey, get Vaughn an Emmy, and they give a shit? Super unlikely, right? Because I've got white man privilege, you know? Yeah, we see all this white man privilege every day, don't we? Because everything I do gets to be historic. So that does it for the free version of the Recently Canceled podcast, episode 19. I may as well go ahead and be numbering these yet again, right? So if you want to check out the full version of this, hit up my Patreon. I think it's patreon.com/VaughnFry. And $1 a month gets you full access to the archives. You can check out the full episodes, including those that are too controversial for YouTube.